In this video, we're building another TV accent wall, this time a wood-paneled, minimal design. It's a really simple media wall that is a perfect beginner-level DIY project. It's a build that doesn't require very many tools or materials, but it made a huge difference in the room, so stick around to see how we did it. The first custom TV accent wall we built was for our own house a couple of years ago. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link if you're interested. This media wall is actually for my parents, so for this project we flew across the country to Florida, where in August, which is when we worked on this, it was almost uninhabitable. My parents recently moved into a new construction house and they wanted to add some character to the living room and showcase their new TV, so they enlisted us to come up with a cheap, easy plan that we were able to execute in just a couple of days. In order to keep things simple, we used only readily available and inexpensive materials gathered from the local big box store that shall not be named. I decided to go with 4 foot by 8 foot plywood panels that are only about a 1/4 inch thick. Our clients were concerned with anything that jut out too far into the seating area since space is limited, so I wanted something with a very minimal footprint that would stay behind the TV and just add some visual interest to the wall without compromising space. These big box sanded plywood sheets are not always stain grade, so in order to achieve the look I was after, I went with a paint wash instead of stain, which is basically just watered down paint. The pigment applies a little more evenly this way, which is good for lower grade wood that doesn't naturally accept stain very well. I experimented with a few different paint colors, landing on a sort of subtle beige that when mixed with 2 parts of water helps to crush the yellow tint of the plywood and achieves a nice clean wood color that resembles oak. Before adding the wash, I lightly wet the panel and sanded it smooth to knock off any grain that might raise when adding the wash, since it is mostly water. This is often referred to as water popping, and in this case helps to achieve a more consistent and even color penetration and smoother surface when dealing with water-based finishes. It was a really simple process. I just brushed it on and then wiped off any excess. Once the paint wash was dry, I applied a couple of coats of polyurethane to protect the panels and give it a bit of a sheen. If you enjoy watching our videos, please consider subscribing to our channel. We recently reached 1,000 subscribers, which may seem small but was a huge accomplishment for us. Your support allows us to keep documenting our projects and sharing them with you, with the hope that it might inspire you to make something as well. Before installing the plywood panels, we cut out the old baseboard and replaced it with a wider board that will sit below the panels. Aaron added a couple of outlets, including one that is higher up that we'll use to plug the TV into later, so we cut out notches in the panels to accommodate the outlets before installing. Once we dry fit the pieces and were certain it all fit, we added some liquid nail to the back of each panel and then nailed it in place. It's a little hard to see, but we used a laser line along the side edge to make sure our panels were level. It's a good idea to use a level or laser line to make sure the panels are straight instead of relying on how it rests on the baseboard in case there is any wonkiness in the floor. Luckily, we didn't need to cut down the plywood panels, so it was a very simple build. With the 2 sheets side by side, the accent feature measures 8 feet across, just enough space to nicely frame the massive new TV. The decorative slats we added helped to hide our edges and seam, but also add a nice subtle bit of visual interest, drawing your eye up to highlight the vaulted ceiling in the living room. I made the slats using the same 1/4 inch plywood panels, just ripping them down to about 1.5 inches width and giving them the same paint wash and poly treatment as the panels. After installing the middle slats, we realized it was going to be in the way of the TV mount, and it was ultimately going to be easier to install the mount first and then add the slat instead of having to cut it out later, so we quickly removed it before the glue dried and moved on to the other ones around it. I decided to paint the top and bottom trim a satin black to play off some of the other black accents we added throughout the house, including some of the black light fixtures and kitchen appliances. And with that, it was time to mount the TV and soundbar. With the wires and devices mounted behind the TV, we were able to achieve a completely clean and minimal look without the technical clutter getting in the way. And with just a simple paint wash and poly, we were able to make these cheap $30 sheets of plywood look like something special. Next up, we're going to be giving the kitchen a quick update by removing an over-the-range microwave and cabinet and replacing it with a custom-built range hood. If you're not already a subscriber, do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe button, as well as the bell icon to enable notifications so you can stay updated on all our latest uploads.